February 1959. Deep in the frozen wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains, a group of young hikers set up camp on a slope of a remote mountain. They were experienced, they were well prepared, and they had survived harsh winter expeditions before. But sometime during the night, something happened. Something so terrifying that all 9 hikers suddenly fled their tent into the brutal Siberian darkness. They ran without boots, without coats, without their survival gear. The tent they left behind would later be discovered slashed open from the inside. Search teams would eventually find their bodies scattered across the mountainside. Some had frozen to death, others had suffered massive internal injuries so severe that they looked like victims of a car crash. One body was missing a tongue, 2 were missing their eyes, and decades later, investigators are still asking the same question: what happened on that mountain? In this video, we examine one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern history, the story of the Dyatlov Pass. The expedition began in January of 1959. The group consisted of 9 experienced ski hikers, most of them students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. Their leader was a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. Dyatlov was known among his peers as an extremely capable outdoorsman. He had organized multiple long-distance expeditions before. This particular journey was meant to earn their group their highest Soviet hiking certification. The team included engineers, radio technicians, and experienced mountaineers. They were not amateurs at all. They knew how to survive. The expedition would take them across one of the most remote regions of the Ural Mountains. Their destination was a peak called Otterton, but their final camp would be placed on another mountain entirely. A mountain the local Mansai people called Kholat Syakhl. The translation is chilling. It means dead mountain. On February 1st, the hikers began climbing the slopes of Kholat Syakhl. Weather conditions were worsening. Strong winds blasted across the mountains, snow reduced visibility, and at some point, the group made a decision that investigators would debate for decades. Instead of descending to the forest for shelter, they pitched their tent directly on the exposed mountainside. This meant they would be vulnerable to wind, snow, freezing temperatures. But the hikers were experienced. They likely believed it would save time the next morning. They cut into the snowpack and anchored their tents into the slope. Inside, they settled in for the night. They ate dinner. They wrote in their journals, and sometime after dark, something forced them to leave immediately. When the hikers failed to return on schedule, search parties were eventually sent into the mountainside. The first discovery was their tent. At first glance, it looked abandoned, but when investigators examined it closely, they noticed something terrifying. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Not torn, not collapsed, cut. As if someone inside was desperately slashed their way out. Even stranger, all of their gear remained inside. Boots, heavy coats, food supplies, axes, everything needed to survive the freezing night. Yet outside the tent, investigators discovered footprints leading down the mountain. Some of the prints were barefoot, others were in socks, in temperatures that could kill a person in minutes. Investigators followed the footprints down the mountain toward a forest nearly a mile away. There, beneath a large cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies. Both were dressed in only their underwear. They had died from hypothermia. Nearby, the remains of a small fire suggested the hikers had tried desperately to warm themselves, but the strangest discovery was the tree itself. Branches were broken high above the ground. It appeared one of the hikers had climbed into the tree, perhaps to look for the tent, or to watch for something in the darkness. Whatever they were looking for, we may never know. Over the following weeks, more bodies were discovered. 3 hikers were found between the cedar tree and the tent. It looked like they had tried to return to the shelter, but the most disturbing discovery came months later. 4 hikers were found buried beneath deep snow in a ravine. Their injuries stunned investigators. One victim had a crushed skull. 2 had massive chest fractures. Doctors reported that the force required to cause such injuries would normally come from a major car accident. Yet there were almost no external wounds. One victim was even missing her tongue, and another had missing eyes. Some clothing even showed traces of radiation. The case was becoming more disturbing by the day. The Soviet investigation eventually came to a strange conclusion. The hikers had died due to an unknown compelling force. The case was quietly closed, and for decades, details of the investigation were hidden from the public. This secrecy fueled countless theories. Was it an avalanche? A secret Soviet weapons test? A rare atmospheric phenomenon? Or something far stranger? In recent years, scientists have attempted to explain the tragedy. One more theory suggests a rare type of slab avalanche may have forced the hikers to escape their tent quickly. Others believe powerful wind patterns may have created infrasound, which can cause extreme panic in humans. But some mysteries remain unsolved. Why were their injuries so severe? Why were some hikers missing body parts? Why was radiation found on some clothing? Even after decades of research, many investigators believe the full story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains unknown. 9 hikers entered the Ural Mountains in the winter of 1959. None of them came back alive. Their final moments remain one of the most chilling mysteries in history. A tent cut open from the inside, footprints leading into darkness, bodies scattered across the frozen mountainside. More than 60 years later, the mountain still holds the secret. And somewhere beneath the snow of Dead Mountain, the truth may still be waiting. Some mysteries fade with time, others only grow stranger. And somewhere out there, the truth is still waiting to be discovered. If you've enjoyed uncovering this mystery, make sure to subscribe and join for the next case, because here at the Curiosity Vault, we explore the stories the world still can't explain. Until next time, stay curious.